Hey everyone, my name's Chelsea. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of September. This is my first wrap-up video, so forgive me. The first book I no longer have, I did unhaul it already, and that was His Hideous Heart. It was the Edgar Allan Poe short story collection edited by Dahlia Adler. To be fair, even though I gave this 2 stars, I don't read short story collections. I don't know, they don't do it for me. I don't ever pick them up. I picked this one up because I love Edgar Allan Poe, so I was intrigued enough. My girlfriend actually owned it originally and she was gonna get rid of it, and I was like, oh no, like let me check it out before you get rid of it, just in case. I thought maybe this could be the one to sway me. I loved reading the original tales with the reimaginings after the fact, so I was constantly flipping back and forth. So that was the only fun I had while reading. The only story that I did like was the one that was written by Dahlia Adler. It was also female, so that really got to me. I feel like if it would have been a hetero relationship, I probably wouldn't have cared so much, so there's that. After that, I needed something I knew that I was definitely gonna like, and that is Venus in the Blind Spot by Junji Ito. I have been slowly working my way through these books. I adore almost all of them. First of all, this cover, please look at it. It is gorgeous. I actually have an extra dust jacket of this, and I think I'm actually going to frame it. I don't remember if there's anything. There's artwork on the inside. It is stunning. I hate that everyone calls everything stunning, but this is stunning. So basically, this is a short story collection. These are short story collections that I actually enjoy. I gave this 5 stars. This is definitely my top 5 Junji Ito's that I have read so far. I highly recommend it. My favorite stories in this were Billions Alive, The Human Chair, The Enigma, were definitely my favorite stories in here. I definitely recommend this. If you haven't read it, it's definitely worth picking up. And the illustrations are just come on, how can you not? How can you not? So after giving that such a high rating, I couldn't just read one Junji Ito, so I also picked up Smashed. This is also another story collection. It's 13 Chilling Nightmares. Also gave this 5 stars. Earthbound was my favorite story in here. This is definitely a solid collection, and I would highly recommend to pick this one up if you haven't. This is definitely one I can see myself rereading in the future. I kind of actually already want to pick it up. It's just love it. I was really on a graphic novel manga kick, so after that I picked up Bee and Puppy Cat Volume 2. I have read Volumes 1 and 3 already. I have been reading these out of order. They're laid out in such a way where if you know the general basis, they're not told in a linear fashion. This is my favorite out of the 3 that I've read. If you aren't familiar with Bee and Puppy Cat, it follows our main character, Bee. She is a lazy, adorable girl who works temp jobs with this weird cat that smells like a dog from space. So they basically travel all around the universe working temp jobs. It's so cute. I love the illustrations in here. Some of my and the cool thing about these is every handful of stories is done by a different artist. So it's really fun to just see all the different takes on it, but it all just holds true to the story. Food and sweaters were my favorites in this volume. It's just, I love it. I wish there was more of these. I don't think there's any out right now. I've been wanting all the merch and plushies that they have. They're too expensive for me to buy, and I just can't. But if if this art style intrigues you at all, or if you're a fan of Adventure Time, I really think that you are gonna like this. Complete Cheese Sweet Home Part 4. This is the last installment in the series where you basically follow this adorable kitten named Chi. It starts when she first gets found by this family and they take her in, and it just progresses from there. I don't think that this was my favorite volume in the series, but the end definitely got an emotion. Like I teared up reading the end of this. Like it was giving me anxiety, but it is just so cute. It's all in color. So I would definitely recommend picking these up if you are like me and you love cats. I feel like it really depicts the life of a kitten. It was just so fun. It was so fun. So I definitely recommend that. After that, I picked up Sheets. Now this was an impulse buy. I know I found out about this from Ariel Bissett. I know that she really enjoyed this. I went into this completely blind, and I think that is the best way. I just picked this up and I instantly fell in love. I think this is my favorite graphic novel that I've ever read, and that's a really big deal. It's coming out with a sequel called Delicates, and I just can't wait to get my hands on it. It is very sweet and wholesome, but it does have like sad undertones. I feel like if you like Nina LaCour, where it's like that sad, hopeful type feeling, then you might be intrigued by this, even though that's kind of where the similarities end. The artwork is also really pretty. It's just like, come on, it's so good. I will read this over and over and over again. Again, I think it is my favorite graphic novel, 5 stars. The next book I picked up after that was Witches Steeped in Gold. It's funny, I actually couldn't decide which book I wanted to read next, so I had my girlfriend pick it out for me, and it was one of my Owl Crate books, so I figured why not. It's got a lot of hype, so I just picked it up. I really liked part 1 of the book. I was like, oh, okay, so like this isn't gonna let me down, this is good. But as soon as I got to part 2, it went all downhill from there. I actually didn't even finish the last 100 pages. I just couldn't bring myself to. I did not care. I didn't find the 2 main girls in the story very interesting. They read very similarly. In this whole like maybe love triangle they had going on with that dude, like I just wanted no part of it. I don't care. So I did unhaul that one already. I read The Dark Vault by Victoria Schwab. Oh my god, I think this is my favorite book of the year right now. So The Dark Vault is actually a bind up of the Archive and the Unbound, and this is actually a signed copy too. I found this for like $5. But anyway, I also knew nothing about these going in. I had no expectations. I didn't know what I was getting into. All that I really knew is that people really liked these books, but this series is technically not finished. So I know a lot of people were griping about that. After I bought this book, I was so excited about it that I actually started reading it in the car, and I couldn't put it down. I did take a break in between each book just to give some space, but I read both of these books basically in one sitting. I stayed up until 4 in the morning to finish The Unbound. I thought it was so great. There is a bonus story in the back of this that I feel really wraps up the 2 books. Like I felt satisfied. One of my favorite lines is actually the tagline. It's "Imagine a place where the dead rest on shelves like books." So here's the synopsis if you want to read it. It explains it so much better than I ever could, but I loved this so much. I started to annotate it. I have one lonely little tab here, but I devoured it too quickly to continue on. I think upon reread, I'm definitely going to mark this book up because I love it so much, like so much. The next book that I read is Permanent Record. I read Emergency Contact by the same author, and I absolutely loved it, even though it has pretty mixed reviews. And from what I've heard from other booktubers, this one tends to be the favorite out of the 2. But I literally knew nothing about this. We're following Pablo and Lee. I went into this book so blind that I didn't even realize that the story is told from Pablo's perspective until like a handful of pages in. He is a 20-something. He's struggling. He's in a lot of debt. He really doesn't know where he wants to go in his life. He meets this like famous girl, Liana, who gave me like Ariana Grande, Miley Cyrus type vibes, where like they started off in like a Disney-esque type show and kind of just created a career from there. So it basically follows their chance meeting at Pablo's work. He works in a bodega, and it just kind of follows their weird and toxic relationship from there. The first 60 or so pages of this book had me dying. I was laughing so hard. I thought this was going to be an instant 5-star. I was like, oh my god, everyone was right, that this is so much better than Emergency Contact. But basically, once he meets the girl and they start having their little whatever you want to call it, it wasn't. Like, if this book was just about Pablo and followed his family, I think I would have loved it so much more. I mean, the vibrator scene, if you know, you know. But I really loved him and his family, and I just really didn't like where the story went. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this. It has such a beautiful cover where I feel like I'm just gonna keep it in my collection. I did give this a 3-star, but the first like 100 or so pages are definitely 5-star material. I just love the way this author writes characters. They feel really real and authentic and messy, and I really like that. So I definitely think it's worth the read, but definitely not my favorite out of the 2 I've read so far. The next book I picked up was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendricks. I would first like to say that this physical copy was the most pleasant reading experience ever. I love the size, and it has like the perfect amount of flop. It was just so lovely to read from. This book is basically Housewives versus vampires. I really didn't need any more going in. Like, that was all I needed to know to pick this book up. I feel like it perfectly toes the line between a classic horror novel and literary fiction. You are following this group of housewives who have a book club, and a new neighbor moves into town, and he's like really sketchy and weird, and our main character thinks that like he's not human, that there's just something not right to him. She starts picking up all of these like classic horror novels, trying to figure out what he is and how to defeat him. This book was just written so incredibly well. I really loved the commentary on like the housewife. Like, I knew that this book was going to be amazing just from the very start. So it says, housewife, noun, a light, worthless woman or girl, Oxford English Dictionary, Compact Edition, 1971. So I knew right there that this book was going to be intense, and it really doesn't shy away from this time period. I actually found myself hating these women's husbands more than I hated the vampire in the story. It does get very gruesome. It does have a lot of your typical horror tropes in it. So I would definitely recommend looking into the trigger warnings for this if you are more of a sensitive reader, or if you're new to the horror genre in general. But it is so much more than just a horror novel. I gave it 4 stars. I'll definitely be reading it again. I loved it so much. This may be another one that I annotate. If I do a reread anytime soon, I think I might film a reading vlog for it, because I had very extreme reactions reading it the first time. I wish I would have gotten them on film. So we can dive deeper into that next time I read it. The last book of the month that I read was One Last Stop by Casey Mcquisten. As I'm sure most of you know, Casey is the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue, which basically took the world by storm, myself included. I've actually owned this book for quite some time, and I haven't picked it up yet because I've been nervous. I knew the basic premise, but I really stayed away from reviews and people talking about it because I just wanted to go in with a clean slate. I didn't want anything to interrupt. Come to find out that this was kind of a mixed bag. There's really mixed reviews. People loved it. People didn't care for it as much. I had a really intense connection with this book. I related so much to our main character, August, in just the way that she thinks and the way that she behaves, and just some of the things that she's been through in her life. And the love interest, Jane, reminds me so much of my girlfriend. Like, it was basically just if I had inserted ourselves into this book and was just like reading a fictional story about us. It was so good. The steam is also very good. I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that it does remind me of me and my girlfriend, so it's like extra steamy, if you know what I mean. I gave this 4 stars. I think I liked Red, White, and Royal Blue more, but I definitely thought this was solid. This does have like a sci-fi element in it, which I felt, even though it was really weird, like it worked and I just ran with it. So just keep that in mind. Just let the story be what it is and don't think too deeply into it. So overall, I really did have a good reading month. If you made it this far into the video, drop some emojis down in the comment section just to let me know that you got this far. Please like and subscribe. That would be wonderful, and I will see y'all soon for a new video. Bye.